It's time for part 2. 300 Spartan, Adelphae General, and so much more. In part 1, you heard how she got into training, how she discovered DragonCon, and how her training, discipline, and effort to earn a shield as a 300 Spartan actually pulled her out of postpartum depression. Part 2, Allison's going to share with us why the Spartans are so important to her. And she's going to share a wealth of information, lessons that she's learned along the way as a single mom with a full schedule and training to be a champion. Meet Allison.
Again, my life crumbled at the beginning of my journey in Sparta. And I was starting brand new with a very young child and no money and not a lot of sort of confidence to do so. I had a handful of guys in there who became brothers to me and like intensely close people that I, for the rest of my life, will have as very, very close friends. I feel very fortunate to have. Sparta's not a costume for me. It's not, I mean, it is, but it's not.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And I really love it that your Instagram handle is a mom that lifts. One of my missions here at Michelle's Body Shop is to encourage women who've had children that they really can reclaim their confidence and their strength and attractive body. No, they can't have their pre-baby body back, but by no means are they a has-been. And your comeback story of not just reclaiming confidence and strength, you've soared way beyond, actually reached new heights postpartum. And I think that story is very powerful.
Like there's so much more to the consistency and the discipline of finding yourself and finding your strength than just showing up to the gym every day. You have to work here just as much as you work here. And it's a lot.
One question I wanted to ask you is, can you tell us how it is that you manage your training schedule being a single mom, working a full-time job? Because I believe that's something that probably weighs on a lot of people. And they wonder, well, how can I fit fitness in? I've got this family to take care of and this job to take care of. But tell us your secrets.
The methods have changed as Violet has gotten older and as my sort of life situation has changed. In the beginning, when she was fresh, there was no training. I didn't train at all, as I mentioned earlier, during my entire pregnancy at all. I was nauseous for most of it. And I was like, you know what? I'm good with just embracing the cookies and the Rice Krispies and growing my child up. That and love. I was good with that. When she was here, I didn't train at all for the first probably 6 months, 7 months. I got impatient. And at about 8 months, cut my calories just to try to drop some weight. But from there, once we switched to formula, which was about a little bit before a year, I was like, okay, now my body is completely mine again. Violet was always a good napper when she was little. So she would nap for like 2 to 3 hours. And we were fortunate enough that we had access to like on-post gyms and stuff that were free. So we didn't have any gym memberships. My ex-husband did very well in the military, and it allowed for me to be a stay-at-home mom for the first almost 2 years of her life, which is I feel so grateful for that. I feel much more connected to her because of it. Plus, we had a really beautiful home gym set up at home, so I could train on her naps. As she got older and naps started becoming less reliable, I would train at night, which was awful, but you make it a habit and it's less awful because it's what you're used to. So until I left, until I moved out, and then once I moved home, I got a gym membership. So it was not a stay-at-home mom anymore. I had to work full-time. So that was a big adjustment. So if I couldn't fit it on my lunch, which was for a long time not something that was a feasible thing for me to do, I would have to train as soon as I got home from work, which was, again, very late. But I would work out at Planet Fitness because it's a cheap membership, and they had everything that I needed. I had a really supportive mom who was okay with me going to do that late. And then now, I mean, these days I have a much more flexible home and work life schedule. I work from home at least half the week. I have a beautiful home gym setup, but I can't use it because I'm not in a place where I can. Like when I moved into this apartment, considering making my living room a gym because I was like, I just need it. But then I would have space. I work out on my lunch most often, or at some point during like a work from home day. And I'm only working out 3 or 4 days a week now. So I don't need to find the time as much as I needed to sort of in the beginning.
It's really a testament to muscle memory, because you had that year of intense growth and now you're able to maintain. That's awesome.
That's exactly right. I've been able to sort of rely on the work that I have done and allow for that to just kind of carry me through for a little while. I mean, hopefully one of these years that'll change, and I can actually commit myself to an actual build and an actual grind. I would like to see if I could get like a natural pro card at some point. I did one bodybuilding show in 2021. So that was sort of like a reclamation of like my strength as like a mom and a person, and I don't need a man, and I had just come fresh out of a divorce, and it wasn't the best bodybuilding experience. To do it, I would have had to do a 7.5-week prep, and normally for bodybuilding shows, it's like a 12 or 16-week prep.
That's not much time.
Well, I mean, I did it. I went from like 128 pounds to 111 pounds in 7 weeks, which is not healthy. I don't recommend it. But I won my show, so.
Wow, so you won first place.
I did. I won my class and I won the overall, so.
Great victory story, overcoming, of course, the postpartum phase of your life, climbing to new heights, and the fact that you're able to fit this into your life by making it important. And that's really kind of the message to everyone. And one thing I've said on my channel is, if you don't take care of you, then you can't take care of them, or all those other, tasks you have on your plate.
You can't operate with a half full battery, right? Like, doesn't work that way. And so you have to kind of find the time. We all are our own worst enemy. And this arena can really sort of magnify that too. But like, I look at other people and their consistency and their diligence and their commitment to discipline, and I see all the things that they strive and are able to accomplish. I'm like, gee whiz, like that, in my opinion, is the hardest piece. And I struggle so much with that, like transparency, like consistency and staying on the grind and staying consistent to a diet and to a plan, especially now when it's not as easy to, is objectively hard for me. So you're right. Finding the time to do it, reframing your mind to accept that fitness and making time for it is as important as doing things like getting your groceries and cleaning your bathroom and all of it. It has to be, otherwise you're not going to do it. It can't be this fun recreational thing that you do occasionally. It has to be important, and it has to be a priority, and it has to be a necessary thing you add to your life.
I fully agree. And, it's interesting that you mentioned comparing yourself to others, because I struggle with that one for sure. Even though I say on my channel and to other people, doesn't matter what other people are doing, lift where you're at, not where your neighbor is. But the truth of the matter is, when I found myself having a hard time not feeling embarrassed by how much I was lifting compared to the others when we were posting in the forums.
It's very hard.
So ridiculous, but I was susceptible to that, I guess.
Comparison is the thief of joy, and this arena sucks it out of people. It's really hard to not compare. Important to remember, just to that point, just when you find yourself going down that rabbit hole, your body doesn't know what the number is on the bar. Your body only knows what the resistance is. So as long as whatever you're moving is challenging you the way that it should, then the number is irrelevant. It's just about resistance, because your body doesn't know what the number is. So don't look at it as a numbers game, because numbers will lie to you. And even you have said it. I've heard you say it on your channel, and I've heard you say it in conversations, and I've heard it in a variety of fitness sort of arenas. The number on the scale can lie to you too. The number on the scale is not even an accurate representation of what you weigh, what your composition is, what's fat, what's not, right? So looking at it all through the lens of a numbers game is already setting yourself up to be disappointed with yourself, because it's not about number, it's about resistance. That's it.
Yep, that's right. I got rid of my scale because I found that, despite my knowledge of, muscle weighing more than fat, sometimes I'd step on that scale and I'd see those increased numbers, and, it would bother me or make me nervous,
You have to gain weight, and you have to gain fat. That's hard. What we do is hard. as women, right? We've been programmed and we've been told that you don't want to have any fat on you because fat's a bad thing, but you can't gain comfortably if you don't also gain fat, right? You can control the amount of fat that you gain, but the process inherently will add fat to your frame. That's just the way that it is. That is just the way that it is.
Yeah, that's right. You got to have it. I mean, we're creating mass, which doesn't come out of thin air. But I will say that even at my most cut, I wouldn't really want to get rid of all my fat because I don't want to be, too rigid as a woman.
No, and you need fat. Women need fat, right? That could also be a genetic thing where people put their fat and how they distribute it and sort of how they cut is also a genetic thing.
So, are there any lessons that you've learned along the way? Like maybe something you wish you knew or you had done when you were a beginner?
I wish in the beginning I had prioritized food and sleep a lot more and understanding that those two factors are imperative to your success if your goal is to make, notable gain and healthy gain. And I've been lifting for 11-ish years. And the first 5-ish, 6-ish of those were not, I didn't really have a meal plan. I didn't pay attention to sleep. My goal loosely was just to be good at it, was just to do it and to learn it and to be good at the lifting part. Because in my brain, that's where the cool part was. Like you can move that big number, you can pick up that big weight, plus you're getting all these muscles, right? But you plateau if you're not also prioritizing sleep and eating even above that, right? Like you can lift all the weight that you want, but if you're not eating right or sleeping right, you're not going to see progress. That's just the way that it goes. So I think one of the biggest, generally speaking, pieces that I would say to anybody wanting to start who hasn't done it before is yes, weight train, yes, workout, yes, prioritize finding the time to go to the gym, but recognize that if you're going to put those in order from most important to least important, that's probably the last one. You need to get your food in order and you need to make sure that you're prioritizing your recovery as well. I do a lot of big compound movements, right? I love deadlifts, but I don't do barbell back squats anymore. I used to, but I don't do them anymore. Mechanically, my body does not like it. I hurt myself almost every single time, but I do it on a consistent basis. And my form's not bad. However, if I take sort of my back out of it and just isolate it to my legs, I'm totally fine. So I don't do any sort of free barbell work for my lower body other than a deadlift. And that's loading yourself differently, right? That's loading from the bottom up and down. So I think would have been nice for me to know that you don't have to lift the stereotypical big three to accomplish the same sort of goal that my goal has always been aesthetic, always has been aesthetic. I've always wanted to go. You don't need to lift the big three to meet that. You can find a way to make your workouts work for your body. And there's always an option if you're trying to isolate a certain part of your body that one exercise can't do that maybe 2 or 3 others can.
Well, one of the questions I planned to ask you was what your least and most favorite exercises are. But it sounds like barbell back squats is your least favorite.
I didn't mind barbell back squats. I liked, they were sort of in the same vein as sumo deadlifts or just deadlifts in general for a while because it's a big lift. You can, if you're doing them right, you can load a lot of weight on the bar and it looks really cool. It's like, oh, the socials really like that. But I wouldn't say that it was one of my favorite lifts, again, because mechanically it never really felt comfortable for me to do. So yeah, sumo deadlifting, specifically sumo deadlifting, makes me feel strong, makes me feel very powerful, and I do like it. Deadlift is my favorite, for sure. I also like a lot of cable work, a lot of rows. I love cable work. I like the resistance because it's constant tension. You don't really get a rest. And I like that. The pump that comes off of that is really nice too. I pride myself in push-ups because for the longest time in my fitness journey, I could not do push-ups, and I can do them now, which is nice. Least favorite, I loathe pull-ups. I'm not good at pull-ups. I think I probably have like 3 strict pull-ups in me, and that is pushing it on a good day. You hear a lot that pull-ups and push-ups like are beginner exercises, and they're really not, right? They're not at all. I see them a lot of times in like beginner circuit workouts or like in like template programming. I'll see push-ups like thrown in there or pull-ups thrown in there. I'm like, why are those in there? Those are not beginner level movements. Those are what I would consider to be a more advanced movement, because you have to have built some strengths in certain places of your body to be able to do that. That's it.
Yeah, I have to agree, especially considering that October fitness challenge. I was feeling pain in my shoulder joints, even just doing the assisted because of the volume we were doing.
Well, and a lot of people, when they do push-ups, will pull their hands out to here and they'll push up that way. It's far more comfortable if you push up at a 45-degree angle. It's going to take a lot of the stress off of your shoulder, and it's going to put a lot more of the movement back in your chest. Pull-ups are awful. Bulgarian split squats are the actual bane of my existence. I hate them. I think everybody on this planet hates Bulgarian split squats, but they're fantastic for your butt. So I do them begrudgingly. Like, it's not just that Bulgarian split squats suck, because they do. They can stress my knees a little bit. Lunges can stress my knees a little bit. I don't do a lot of lunge work. They can stress my knees. But you should absolutely do single leg work, because I feel like a lot of people neglect it. And that's, in my opinion, like a key part in building leg size is, instead of doing like the sort of standard traditional kind of compound movements for your legs, also prioritize individual leg work.
So I really appreciate you sharing so much of your personal story with us. I think it's really nice for people, and perhaps especially women, to hear a story from someone who is kind of where they are in life, and especially to know that you weren't always like that. What it tells them is that they too can become more lean, muscular, and stronger if they really want it and they really put their mind to it and try.
We've talked about how in my early years, I was not athletic, and nobody in my family was. We've all were band. Me and my siblings were all band kids. Like, fitness was not a part of my world at all. I watched my mom struggle with weight. Like, that is what I remember as far as like body image and fitness, if that's even what she did. The whole, like, she did the Atkins diet. Like, she did all of the like crash diets. She was constantly in this like search for something, but it was always a fast fix. She never actually committed herself to the process. And I had no inclination to do it until I got into lifting with my ex-husband. Once I got it, once I found it, once I realized, and this is maybe a big statement, really is, and I'll say this loosely, it's easy once you do it and you know that you can do it and you have found a system that works for you and you have seen the progress that you can create for yourself. It is easy in the sense that you realize that it is something that is attainable if you apply yourself to it. Yep.
Yes, you heard her. Once you see that you can do it, you pre-prep your food, you make yourself a workout plan, you make it a priority in your schedule, and you see that progress, you find that it's not as difficult as you thought it was going to be. You can do it. You can do it just like she can do it, just like I can do it. We can do it. Now make sure you join us for part 3 of the Allison interview. Part 3 is going to be all the fun stuff at DragonCon. Not just 300 Spartans, mind you, but a whole lot more. And we'll see you next time on Michelle's Body Shop.